on building relationships and a career that allows you to be your most valuable you, then you're going to have the opportunity to keep being that person over and over again. It's a virtuous cycle. When we think about how do you explain that? How do you describe yourself to people? We can come back to the world of marketing to see how marketing does it. One of my first clients I ever worked on was BMW. Does anybody remember the long-time BMW tagline? Oh, yes, very good. Ultimate driving machine. So when BMW says ultimate driving machine, it's describing what is most valuable about BMW. They're not just talking about the car. They're talking about the culture, the employees, the driving experience. They're talking about the kind of people who would buy it. You can kind of imagine what the test drive is going to be like if it's the ultimate driving machine. Now, a couple of years later, I was part of the team that brought the Mini Cooper into the United States. And we had a really difficult challenge because it was a totally different car than anybody had ever seen before. Americans just weren't used to the Mini Cooper. They were used to the VW Bug. And so we talked to people about what they wanted from Mini Cooper in a focus group. And they said they wanted adventure. They wanted road trips. They wanted to have their dog slobbering out the window. And so the tagline that we wrote for it was "Let's Motor." It's all about the action and adventure, beep beep, of Mini Cooper. Now, if you took the Mini Cooper tagline and you put it on the BMW logo, it wouldn't make sense. And if you took Ultimate Driving Machine and you put it over onto the Let's Motor logo, that wouldn't make sense either. It's almost comical. Well, the same is true for you. If you could take another investor, if you could take anybody in financial services, take the way they describe themselves and put it with you, and it makes sense, then you haven't differentiated yourself enough. You shouldn't be able to take somebody else's LinkedIn profile or bio or description and use it to describe you and have that work. You need to be differentiated that way. And I found that there's actually a very simple formula that you can use in order to describe yourself. I found that when I was creating brands and creating advertising campaigns, there were two parts of it. I described how the brand was different and what the brand does best. If you can describe how your company or your office or your team is different and what you do best, you make it really easy for people to understand why they should work with you instead of somebody else. Now, I'll make it even simpler for you. How the brand is different is usually an adjective because it's describing it in a comparative way. So once you identify how a company or a product or a service is different and what it does best, you've made it very easy for people to understand how that brand is most likely to add value. So for example, Southwest Airlines, how they are different is that they're friendly. What they do best is practicality. Even if you'd never been on Southwest Airlines, if I said to you, I'm going to go on an airline that offers friendly practicality, you would probably have a pretty good mental image of what the plane would be like, what the service would be like, what they would serve or not serve. Rolex watches, high performance is how they are different. Luxury is what they do best. Even if you've never seen a Rolex, if I describe this for you, then you can start to see, you could predict what the packaging would be like, what the customer service would be like, and so on. Let's take Brooks Brothers. How the brand is different is that it's traditional, and what it does best is it creates classics. So traditional classics. Some people call this a positioning line. It's almost like a tagline. I call it an anthem. An anthem is what a brand is at its very best, at the highest level. What's Nike's tagline? Just do it. Nike was the very first client I ever worked on. You could think of that as a tagline, but you could also think of it as an anthem. It's describing what it is at its highest level. So 5 years ago, I had a breakthrough. I realized I'd been doing this for brands all over the world, but what if I could do it for people? What if I could help you identify how you are most likely to add value? So taking this anthem concept, my anthem is fascinating communication. I help you be fascinating. That's what makes me different. And communication is what I do best. But if you change these words and you gave me the anthem meticulous follow-through, I would probably not do very well in a situation that was all dealing with the Excel documents and the hyper details and getting in the weeds, because that's not my highest value. So think about yourself. What words describe who you are at your best? I've shown some of these words to you. When you look here on this matrix, I want you to think about this like a roadmap to your adjectives that describe how you are different. Remember a moment ago I was telling you about the focus group. Imagine if we did a focus group of all your greatest fans. What would they say about you? How would they describe you? I took 100,000 people through a focus group, and I pinpointed the adjectives that describe who they are at their best. So after you take the assessment, the fascination advantage, you get a list of adjectives that describe who you are at your best so that you can create an anthem like this.